So today is March 22nd, 2025. We were discussing about the nirvanas to preventing nirvanas. To prevent those nirvanas so that it will not enter into the mind, our mind. By preventing those nirvana hindrances, we are guarding our six sense doors. So, to prevent the nirvanas, to dispel those nirvanas, we need to have some factors, the Jhanic factors. Hindrances and the Jhanic factors are direct opposite dhammas. So in the practice, we should develop those Jhanic factors. So there are 5 types of factors, the Jhanic factors. The Vitakka, we already heard about this Vitakka. It's the aiming. But Vitakka is translated as initial application. The second Jhanic factor is Vichara, sustained application. The third one is Piti, rapture or joy. And the fourth one is Sukha, happiness. And the fifth one is Ekaggata, that is Samadhi, concentration. So there are 5 Jhanic factors that can burn the opposite dhammas, here the hindrances. So in the practice, in the Satipatthana practice, among these 5 Jhanic factors, the first 2, Vitakka and Vichara, the initial application and the sustained application, these 2 are very important. We should have these 2 Jhanic factors in the practice so they can prevent the hindrances. So here Vitakka, initial application, it has the characteristic of bringing the mind to the object. So Vitakka, it can bring the mind to the object so that the mind reaches the object. So when Vitakka brings this noting mind to the object, and then the mind reaches the object, and Vichara, the sustained application, helps to keep that mind on that object. So simply we said Vitakka is aiming, means paying attention the object, always focusing. So when there is Vitakka, then the noting mind seems like it is inclining towards the object. The object are arising every moment, every moment, every second, there are many new objects are arising. And so this Vitaka brings this noting mind to that object. And it seems the noting mind is always inclining towards the object. So that is very important in the practice. We are doing this Satipatthana practice in order to know the true natures of physical and mental phenomena. So it is important that the noting mind rests on that object. Then only it will know the nature of object. Therefore, when we observe any object, whether it is primary object of rising and falling movement in the abdomen, or whether other objects like stiffness, tension, pain, whatever, we should aim that object. That aiming is Vitaka. Because of aiming, the noting mind reaches to that object. And then Vichara, the sustained mindfulness, it keeps the mind on that object. It's like rubbing the object. Noting mind rubs that object. It stays on that object. So Vichara is something like roaming around that object. Vichara, roaming around that object. So when we noting mind stays on that object, then we come to know what is that object. We will be able to know the nature of that object. We are noting rising and falling movement. If the mind is on that movement of rising and falling on the abdomen, then we will know what is rising, what is falling, the nature of the object. Vichara is something, sometimes is translated as reflection, something like that. But here we are not just reflecting about the object. We are not thinking about the object without noting. We are not thinking. We are paying attention to the object, and because the mind is on that object, automatically we come to know about that object. We don't need to think about what is that, what nature this object has, and how it occurs, what is the cause, what is the result, and how it appears or disappears. We don't need to think about that. As long as the mind is on that object, we come to see those natures automatically. So we are not thinking about the object, we are not analyzing about the object, but it is something like rubbing the object, the mind roaming on that object, so it comes to know the object. So Vitaka and Vichara, these two mental factors, the Jhanic factors, are very important in the practice. Vitaka, it pulls the mind to the object, and Vichara keeps that mind on that object. And to differentiate these two Jhanic factors, Vitaka and Vichara, the simile given is like a bronze bowl, a bronze cup. If you want to clean that cup, then with one hand, we have to hold it very firmly. And the other hand, we rub it again and again so that all the impurities on that cup will disappear and the cup becomes very clean, very bright. So here, the holding, for example, with the left hand, we hold a cup. That holding the cup is like a witter cup. And the other hand, maybe here the right hand, with the right hand we are rubbing that cup again and again. And that is like a vichara. So we are rubbing it again and again. The cup becomes very clean, very bright. So too in the practice, if we are able to apply these two jhanic factors, vitaka and vichara, there will be no chance for any hindrances to enter in our mind. No chance for any hindrances to enter. So the noting mind is now free of hindrances, free of impurities. That means the noting mind is very clear, very clean, and very bright. And then we will see the nature even more clear-cut manner. Therefore, if these two jhanic factors are not present, then our noting mind will be overwhelmed by those mental impurities, mental distractions. But in the other hand, if we can apply these two mental factors, the noting mind will not be overwhelmed by the distractions. And here again, when the noting mind rubs that object, so we come to know the nature of object. The mind is just on that object. And when we know the nature of the object, we feel happy, we feel joy, the piti occurs. And also we feel very calm and peaceful, very happy. And the mind just stay on that object. Mind is concentrated on that object. So the other jhanic factors, piti, sukha, and ekagata, that is concentration, also be very apparent at that time. So among these 5 jhanic factors, when the mind is concentrated on that object, that means ekagata is present, samadhi is present, then the hindrance of sensual desire, kama, chanda, nivarana, will be dispelled at that time. Kama, chanda, nivarana is the direct opposite dhamma of concentration, ekagata. And when the mind, the noting mind, feels very joy, very happy, the rapture, the mind, we feel when there is a piti, rapture and joy, then there will be no vyapada nivarana, the hindrance of ill will. This joy, piti, is the direct opposite dhamma of ill will, vyapada dosa. And when we feel very happy, when there is sukha, then there will be no restlessness and remorse. Sukha and this restlessness and remorse are two opposite dhammas. So when there is sukha, happiness, the mind will not be restless. The mind is not restless and there is no remorse at that time. And again, when there is vitaka, that is aiming, or it brings noting mind to the object, at that time, the mind is very active, and so there is no tina mitta, no sloth and torpor. Sloth and torpor and this vitaka, they are two opposite dhammas, two direct opposite dhammas. And when the mind stays on that object, the mind like roaming on that object, so it knows the true nature of that object, means it is sure. It surely knows the object. So at that time, there is no doubt. And this doubt, the hindrance of doubt and vichara are two opposite dhammas. Therefore, in the practice, this, at the beginning, the initial application and the sustained application, vitaka and vichara, to jhanic factors are very important. We should apply these jhanic factors. Of course, we need virya also. Without virya, without effort, there will be no this vitaka and vichara. We cannot send our mind to the object. We cannot keep our mind, noting mind on that object. We need effort also. So effort is the main thing. But these two jhanic factors are also very important at the beginning of the practice. And when we have these two jhanic factors and we are observing every arising objects one by one, then we come to see the very true nature of that object, sabhava lakhana, the individual characteristics of every arising objects. Every objects, every physical and mental phenomena, they have their own individual nature. Yesterday we talked about the earth element. Earth element has its nature of hardness and softness, roughness, smoothness. The fire element has the nature of heat, cold, warmth. The air element has the nature of stiffness, tension, movement, and so on. And also the water element, apodhatu, water element has the nature of cohesion, flowing, and weight, sometimes wetness, damp. So these are the nature of water element. And the mind, it has also its nature. The mind always inclines towards the object. That is the nature. It knows the object. The mind knows the object. Knowing the object is the nature of mind, and it always inclines towards the object. So those true natures, that is the individual natures, every mental and physical phenomena, they got those individual natures, and we come to know. And again, if we are very attentive in observing the objects, then we also come to know the cause and effect relation of this mind and matter. We are observing rising and falling movement in the abdomen, And this rising and falling movement occurs because of in-breath and out-breath. And because there is rising and falling movement, there is the noting mind, the knowing mind. It knows that rising movement and it knows the falling movement. So they are related that way, cause and effect. We come to know that also. And again, if we keep on observing those objects, we comes to see that arising of the object. The objects, they arise, they stay for a short while, and after that, they disappear. So we come to see the arising, the beginning of the object, and it stays for a while, the middle of the object, and then it ends. Yeah? Again, we keep on practicing. Then we come to see the fast arising and passing away of those objects. It appears and disappears immediately. Very quickly it disappears. Very fast arising and passing away of the objects. That is the impermanent nature. Every mental and physical phenomena, they appears and disappears very quickly. So this appearing and disappearing, that characteristics, every mental and physical phenomena got that characteristic. So this is the common characteristic. We come to see the common characteristics. And because they are appearing and disappearing in very fast manner, something is like a suffering, torturing to us. That is dukkha. And they are appearing and disappearing in their own accord. There is no self or soul that can control this appearing and disappearing. Nobody can control. So that is the non-self. So this impermanent unsatisfactoriness and non-self is the characteristic every mental and physical phenomena have. And this is common characteristics. We come to see the characteristics, the individual characteristics and the common characteristics. And we are having that knowledge because we are noting, we are observing the objects very attentively, and this knowledge is our personal knowledge, the direct knowledge. Patsakanyana, it is the direct knowledge. This is not the knowledge that we heard in the Dhamma talks. This is not the knowledge that we come to have from reading the books. But this is our personal knowledge. Before we have heard about this knowledge, many times, maybe in the Dhamma talks, we have read in the books, but that is not our personal knowledge. And this type of knowledge we can gain only through practice, not just by analyzing or not just by reflecting. So there are two power, the patisankhana bala, that is the reasoning power, and the bhavana bala, that is the power of mental development. Here the patisankhana bala, the power, reasoning power, is something we just think, oh, it should be like this, it should be like that. We think about that. We reflect on that. We read something and we reflect on that. We heard something and we reflect on that. Bhavana bala, That is the mental power, mental development power. That is, we gain through the practice. And that is the practical knowledge. The Patisankhana Bala is something, the theoretical knowledge, but Bhavana Bala is a practical knowledge. And we are trying to develop that Bhavana Bala, the power of mental development. So the wisdom or the knowledge, it can be categorized in the three. Sutta Maya Panya, that is the knowledge of learning. You learn the books, you hear the Dhamma talks, that is Sutta Maya Panya, the knowledge by listening or learning. And Cinta Maya Panya, the learning from the books, the theory, and then we think about that. We think about that knowledge we gain from learning. So we analyze on it. We reflect on that. That is Cintamaya Panya. Cinta means we are reflecting, we are thinking, we are analyzing. And when we do the actual practice, now we gain the knowledge through our own practice. That is our personal knowledge, that is the direct knowledge. That is Bhavanamaya Panya. So there are three kinds of knowledge or wisdom. The one is the knowledge gained from learning, that is the theoretical knowledge, and another one is reflecting on the knowledge, reflecting knowledge, that reflecting what you learn, that is Cintamaya Panya, and then when do the actual practice, we got the practical knowledge, that is Bhavanamaya Panya. So Cintamaya Panya and Suttamaya Panya, the knowledge from learning and knowledge gained from reflecting, that is the Patisankhana Bala, the power of reflection. And this is not very important in the actual practice. In the practice, if we spend our time on reflecting, then we will not experience what we have to. We will not know anything what we have to know. We may be just wasting our time. So when we do meditation, whether sitting meditation or walking meditation or in the daily activities, whatever the objects becomes obvious, we have to note them immediately. We should not think about that object. What is that object? How it appears? Why this is happening to me? Why it is occurring that way? Why it lasts for so long time? Something like that. We should not think about that object. If we are thinking that way, and also if we are thinking, oh, these objects are impermanent, it will disappear. Sooner or later, it will disappear. They are impermanent. Oh, this is rupa. Okay, oh, this is nama. This is matter. This is mind. Oh, this is the air element. Oh, that is the water element. Oh, it is fire element. That way, if we are reflecting, then we are losing our mindfulness for quite long time. The mindfulness is not there. We are just reflecting on those things. Therefore, whatever object appears in the practice, we should not reflect. We should not spend our time on reflecting. The most important thing is to observe as soon as they occur. Then only we can gain the knowledge, uh, the direct knowledge, that is the Bhavanamaya Jnana, direct practical knowledge. And we are practicing meditation in order to develop this Bhavanamaya Jnana. So the power of reflection or reflecting, it sometimes it becomes a very big hindrance in the practice. It disturbs the practice. We should not give priority to that type of knowledge while we are meditating. We should not give priority to that, because the dhammas, the physical and mental dhammas occurring in our body, they are very fast. They are occurring in very fast manner. If we happen to think about that objects, then we won't catch those mental and physical phenomena, because it appears and disappears very quickly. So if you are thinking instead of noting, then we won't be able to catch them. Therefore, this type of reasoning is sometimes, it becomes a very big disturbance in the practice. It can prevent the progress in the practice. Therefore, it's very important to give priority to the actual practice. Try to stay in the present moment. When we observe the objects, we have to stay in the present moment, not the past, not the future. Staying in the present moment, observing the presently arising objects. And those objects, those mental and physical phenomena, it's inside in our body and also the outside. There are many physical and mental phenomena inside us and also the outside. So which ones we should observe when we do meditation? The internal one or the external one? Actually, both. Yeah? Internal objects and external objects, both can be observed. But we should give priority to the internal objects. We should try to focus inside, not the outside, because it is more easy to see, to observe the internal objects. Therefore, this one we have to be very careful. Sometimes we do sitting meditation, we close our eyes, but sometimes we are looking for something. Yeah? According to the instructions, we have to, at the beginning, we focus mainly on the primary object, the rising and falling movement, because other objects are not very obvious, not very predominant at that time. So we try to focus on the primary object. But sometimes we try to find out something, and we try to thinking something, and we try to look something. So though our eyes closed, sometimes the mental eye is not looking in the abdomen, but it is looking somewhere. We're trying to find out something. So we should be very careful of that. We try to direct our mind on the object of rising and falling movement, or if we have some pain, we try to direct our mind on that pain. If we are having a very heavy feeling, then we focus on that heaviness. If we feel our body is very hard, like a rock, we focus on that object. Just try to focus on that object. So that focusing is Vitaka initial application, so that the mind reaches there and stays there. That is Vichara, the sustained application, and for that we need a lot of effort. We need to exert effort, propelling effort, so that the mind reaches on that object. So if we can do that way, then we come to see the natures. Therefore, the internal objects are very important. If we try to look on only the external objects, sometimes the mind becomes very scattered. If we are looking objects outside, if we are trying to find some visible objects or some sounds, we are paying attention to those sounds, we try to see something, then the mind becomes scattered, restless. We feel very tired, and because we don't see the things clearly, sometimes we lost interest in noting. So then we are doing sitting meditation, we are doing walking meditation, we don't experience anything, and we feel bored, and then there will be a doubt. I think this practice is not the correct one. I think this method is not suitable for me. Something like that. Many doubts may arise because we didn't experience anything. Therefore, when we are paying more attention on the outside, the external objects, and it does not help to develop concentration and wisdom. So first we have to look inside. If we are looking only outside and we don't develop any concentration, any wisdom, we become more restless. So though we are practicing for quite long time, we won't get any benefit of the practice. We will not gain any benefit of the practice because the practice seems same all the time. No difference. Therefore, if the other objects, the external objects, automatically appears in our sixth sense doors, in that case, we note them. Yeah? If those external objects automatically appears in our sixth sense doors, then we note them. But we deliberately not looking for something. We deliberately not trying to hear some sound from outside. We should not do that. But automatically when they appear in our mind, then we note them accordingly. But other time, we try to pay more attention inside our body. We try to focus more on the internal objects so that we develop concentration very quickly and also the wisdom. And here again, to develop that knowledge, we need a support of effort. The effort is very, very essential again. Without effort, we cannot send our mind to the object. So sometimes the mind becomes sluggish. Though we want to do meditation, we are very eager to gain the benefits of the practice, and we are very, we have a, how to say, the saddha, confidence in the practice also. We want to practice, but sometimes the mind becomes very sluggish. So we have to sometimes check our mind. Sometimes we want to put effort, we want to put effort in noting the objects, but sometimes we cannot. We cannot. So we have to consider ourselves as a very new beginner. Yeah? Sometimes we think that, oh, I'm an old practitioner. I have been practicing for so long time. I have attended so many retreats. So when we think that way, we think ourselves that I am a matured yogi. So sometimes we don't put much effort in the practice. We always think that I know, or this one I have experienced before also. And sometimes we compare our practice with the the earlier retreats. So we should not do that. We should consider ourselves as a very beginner. We don't know anything, and so we focus on the object, we exert effort. And if the mind is sluggish somehow, we have to note that sluggish mind very effectively. Sometimes the mind is very sluggish. It doesn't want to exert. Though we know I have to exert effort, I have to focus, but still we cannot, because the mind is so sluggish, so slackened. We can't do anything. So we have to observe that mind also sometimes very effectively. We have to note them like a sluggish, sluggish, sluggish. So any kind of this unwholesome mental states, we have to sometimes note it very effectively. Then only we will be able to overcome that. So when we keep on noting that way, exerting effort with focusing and aiming the object, and then we gain, we develop the mindfulness and concentration. The mindfulness, not the ordinary mindfulness, it becomes very firmly established mindfulness, not ordinary mindfulness, not just a sati, it becomes satipatthana, it established on the object, very firmly established. So that mindfulness can see that object in perfect way, completely. It can see the objects very completely, not only some part of the object. The noting mind can cover the whole object. It can see it very clearly. So this talk will be continue on Monday, and that's all for today. So may you all be able to exert effort. May you all be able to note every object with aiming, so that you develop the bhavana bala, the power of mental development very soon.